Hello and welcome to computer programming. All right, so today we're going to look at the first of three different sorting algorithms. All right, so you should have an assignment that says bubble sort. It's got the solution. It's got another YouTube video that I'd like you to watch. It's just going to help illustrate what's actually happening, kind of reinforce what I'm going to talk about in this video. You've got the lab document and you've got the zip file. Now, the solution picture is not going to be super helpful this time. It's basically just you're writing code that's going to organize numbers. So the solution just shows that, hey, those were the starting numbers, and look, now they're in order. All right, so not very useful, but it's still there because I figured why not. Now, as far as getting started, let's get our zip file. So do this the same way we always do it. Open a new window, download it. All right, then I've got to go extract it from my downloads folder. So downloads, bubble sort, extract all. All right, there it is. Again, I'm just going to clean things up a little bit here. Get rid of the zip files, drag it into my computer programming folder, and there it is, bubble sort to open up. All right, now the code that's in here, there's not much. Basically what you're going to see is a few different arrays, most of which are commented out. All right, but we'll let it get up and then we'll talk about it and then we'll actually walk through what I want to explain today. All right, so you're going to see that there are a bunch of arrays. All right, they're all called sort me, and 3 of them are commented out and 1 of them is not commented out. And then there's sort of the generic loop that we talked about last time that's just going to go through and print out every element. Then there's a comment that says write the code that will use a bubble sort, and then there's a loop that prints it back out. So if I were to run this right now, it's just going to print the same thing out twice in a row. All right, so 751326, did your code work? Let's see, 751326. So no, my code didn't work yet. All right, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be writing code that goes in right here that implements the bubble sort and hopefully puts the array in order. All right, so that's kind of the end goal. Now, why are there multiple arrays up here? This is just so you have different things to test to make sure that your code works for different arrays. So like after I'm done testing this one, I can comment it out and test this one. After I'm done testing this one, comment it out, test this one, and then so on and so forth. But this just gives you, 4 different test cases to make sure that your code works for different sets of numbers. All right, so that's all that is. Now, what is the bubble sort and what is it going to involve? All right, so a bubble sort is kind of a very basic, simple, not super efficient, but starting algorithm for learning how to sort of put things in order or organize an array. All right, so let's pretend this is your array. All right, it has numbers 23, 5, 50, -2, -1, and 10 in it. And those are at indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so the way bubble sort works is it starts by looking at the numbers that are in indexes 0 and 1. And it says, hey, if the number in index 0 is bigger than the number in index 5, flip them. Right? So in this case, 23 is bigger than 5, so it would flip them. And this would become 5, and this would become 23. Then it says, all right, now let me look at the ones in elements 1 and 2. All right, so it's going to compare the 23 and the 50. This time 23 is not bigger than 50, so it's going to leave it alone. Then it's going to compare the numbers in 2 and 3. Say, all right, is 50 bigger than -2? It is. So it's going to flip them. Right? Then it's going to do the same thing with 3 and 4 and say, oh, 50 is bigger than -1. So it's going to flip them. Then it's going to do the same thing with 4 and 5 and say, oh, 50 is bigger than 10. So we're going to flip them. And then by the time we get to the end, we're sort of guaranteed that the largest number in the array has bubbled its way up to the top, and we know that the rightmost number is in the right location. All right? So what we do now is we go back to the beginning of the array, and we repeat the process. And we say, all right, now we're going to compare 0 and 1. All right, 5 and 23. Oh, no need for a flip there. So let's compare 1 and 2. Yep, these need to be flipped. So this becomes -2. This becomes 23. Now let's compare 2 and 3. Yep, these need to be flipped. So this becomes -1. This becomes 23. All right, 3 and 4. Yep, these need to be flipped. So this becomes 23. This becomes 10. And now we are guaranteed that the top two numbers are organized. It might be that other ones are also organized, but we're only guaranteed that the top two numbers are organized. All right. So we go back to the beginning and we say, all right, now let's compare 5 and -2. Yep, these need to be flipped. So this is going to be -2 and this is going to be 5. Then we compare the numbers in 1 and 2. Yep, these need to be flipped. So this is -1 and this is 5. Then we compare these two and we say, nope, these don't need to be flipped. So now we're guaranteed that these three are in the right location. All right, because each time the largest remaining number is sort of bubbling its way up to the top, hence sort of the name, the bubble sort. But then we go back to the beginning and say, all right, now let's compare these two. Nope, they don't need to be flipped. Nope, they don't need to be flipped. So we now know this one is in the highest spot. All right, and then we compare these two. We go back to the beginning again. Nope, they don't need to be flipped. So now we know this is in the highest spot, and this must be in the highest spot because it's the only one left. And our entire array is sorted. All right, but that's what the bubble sort involves. All right, it involves these comparisons over and over and over again. All right, and then when the number in the lower location is larger than the number in the higher location, we flip them. We just keep working through over and over and over and over again. All right, so that's the algorithm. That's the general, progression of how this works. As far as actually implementing it in code, all right, and again, this part up here is just basically talking you through or walking you through what I just showed you on the Google Sheet. This just gives you like another visual if you want to see it. So you've got this video, you've got the Lego video. This would give you another visual if you want it. But basically, at the end of each pass, you're guaranteed that the largest unsorted number ends up in the appropriate spot, which is what we just saw. This means that each time you run through the loop, you should have to look at one less pair of numbers because you know that the one is in the right spot. In a worst case scenario, in which case the smallest number starts in the last position, you're going to have to take n-1 passes to make sure everything is in the right order. All right, so this is just some general background information about the bubble sort. But here's the key. To get this working, you'll have to use nested loops. All right, so we've seen those already, but it's basically a loop inside of a loop. All right, one loop will handle the number of passes, and then a second loop will handle working through an array. All right, so if we go back to this kind of example here, I kept saying, all right, compare these two, then compare these two, then compare these two, then compare these two, then compare these two. All right, that's the work of your inner loop. The job of the outer loop is to keep going back to the beginning and saying, okay, after I've gone through this whole thing, now repeat the process and do it again. And then repeat the process and do it again. And if we keep doing this over and over and over again, eventually we will reach a point where the entire array is sorted. All right. So that's kind of what the lab involves. It involves setting up the nested loops, an outer loop and an inner loop. And then inside that inner loop is where you're actually comparing the numbers and saying, all right, is the number in this location greater than the number in this location? If so, flip them. Otherwise, leave them alone. All right. But that's the general sort of framework. Now, I encourage you to experiment with it on your own. I encourage you to try to set it up on your own. However, there are hints, all right? They're down on the third page of the lab. Notice I say don't use these right away. Try to get working on your own first. But if you get stuck, if you're like, I have no idea kind of how to get going on this, all right, there are some hints here that will kind of show you a general setup of the loops, give you some ideas of what needs to happen to get you kind of pointed in the right direction. All right, but that's this lab. It's just trying to write the algorithm that's going to put these in order. All right, there's no extra exercises. It's just I'm looking for, can you write the code that's going to take these arrays and put them in numerical order from least to greatest using the bubble sort algorithm. All right, so that is it. Best of luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. All right, have a great day. Bye.